Today I'm going to be reviewing the ESV Literary Study Bible, and this is by Crossway. It comes in a cloth over board cover. See, the spine has gold printing on it as well. So just taking a look at the back cover here, we can see some of the features of this Bible. We have over 1,200 study notes that are focused on the literary elements of the Bible. We have a general introduction to the Bible's literary features. We have introductions to each book of the Bible that explain genre, plot, and more. We're going to have a one-year reading plan. We have a sewn binding, and we have single column text. So although this is a study Bible, it is pretty portable and small in size. You can see here compared to my hand. Now, it's not going to have as much content as, say, the actual ESV study Bible or some other study Bibles that are out there, but it's not supposed to. It's kind of filling a different need here. So we have a paste down liner. We have a presentation page. The table of contents. We have the books of the Bible in alphabetical order. We have the editor's preface, an introduction, preface here. And then we go into an explanation of features that are included in this edition. So this is going to have textual footnotes and cross-reference footnotes, and it goes into more detail about that. And then we get into the Old Testament. So first we're going to have a book introduction. So we have the book at a glance, we have genres, and then we have some things that are specific to each book. So the headings that are found in Genesis introduction will not all necessarily be in every book, because some of them are specific to the particular book. So for Genesis, we also have the literary concept of a hero. We have the storylines, the cast of characters, unifying motifs, inferred literary intentions, theological themes, and Genesis as a chapter in the master story of the Bible. And they do have that, the book as a chapter in the master story of the Bible. That is found in every book, so that's kind of neat. And then we're going to get into the Old Testament book of Genesis here. So the text itself, the biblical text, is in a single column format. We have, you can see here, I'll kind of bring it up close, some notes. A lot of times the notes are at the beginning of the chapter, but not necessarily. Sometimes they are spread throughout, and sometimes there'll be a chapter that doesn't have any notes at the beginning. Just going to skip around a little here. Whenever a note starts, there's a line separating the scripture from the note, and the font is a little different and slightly smaller for the notes, so you can easily differentiate between the notes and the scripture. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just pick one or two of the notes to read, just so you can kind of hear what they sound like too, as I know it can be, like, I'm trying to show everything on here, but it's really tricky to be able to actually read study notes from a YouTube video, especially with my camera skills, which I'm trying or getting better, but slightly lacking in some areas here. So I'll just read a couple of the notes here just so you can see what they are like and get an idea. So this is in 1 Samuel chapter 4, and the note says, leadership taken from Eli. Following the 3 chapters of literary narrative, the conventions of the historical chronicle dominate chapter 4. If we remember that the book of 1 Samuel tells the story of a nation at a time of crucial transitions, it is clear that the function of this chapter is to draw closure to the priestly career of Eli and his 2 sons. Eli had simply appeared as a commanding figure on the national stage in the opening chapter of the book, as though we already knew who he was. He was already an old man then, and he reaches his foredoomed end in this chapter, which unfolds as follows. Defeat of the Israelite army by the Philistines and loss of the Ark of the Covenant in battle, that's in verses 1 to 11. The bearing of the tidings to Eli, who dies from a fall resulting from shock at the news, and that's verses 12 to 18. And the birth of Eli's daughter-in-law of Ichabod, whose symbolic name was the glory has departed, summarizes the nation's poor spiritual health, and that's verses 19 to 22. Just to give you an idea of what those study notes are like. I'll skip ahead here and pick another random one to read. Okay, here's the New Testament. So the book of Matthew's introduction has some of the same headings as Genesis, one we looked at before, but some are different. So it has the book at a glance, we have genres, format, storyline, how to visualize the book, rhetorical and stylistic features, inferred literary intentions, theological themes, and Matthew is a chapter in the master story of the Bible. So let's just pick a note out here to read from Matthew. So this one is the nativity story, and this is chapter 1, verse 18 through chapter 2, verse 12. It says, Matthew chose to include 2 events of the birth of Jesus, the virgin birth, which is chapter 1, verses 18 to 25, and the adoration of the wise men, chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. Fruitful avenues to understanding these 2 events include 1, the heroism of Joseph and the wise men in following God's call, 2, the ways in which the human birth of Jesus is bathed in supernatural and miraculous happenings. Number 3, early evidence of Matthew's persuasive purpose to prove that Jesus is the prophesied Messiah. And 4, the kingship of Christ acknowledged by some of the wealthy and wise of the world. So these are just some examples of the study notes. Please excuse me if I'm stumbling over my words still. I said this in my last video, but I did have some oral surgery and I still have a little bit of swelling in some areas. So if I sound odd, I apologize. Just finally starting to improve and get better from that. So let's get to the end here. So at the end of Revelation, we're going to have a glossary of literary terms and genres. And it says, this glossary provides succinct definitions, sometimes accompanied by an illustration from the Bible of the leading literary forms of the Bible. Okay, so we have that. And that goes on for quite a few pages here. And then we have a daily reading plan. Okay, so we have, and each day gives us, sorry, my daughter's giving me Barbie jewelry. All right, anyway.
This is broken.
It's okay, honey, just a minute. Okay, so it goes through each day. You have a Psalms and Wisdom literature reading, you have a Pentateuch and History of Israel reading, Chronicles and Prophets, and Gospels and Epistles. And there's a reading from each for each day. So that's kind of unique, I thought, the way they broke down the plan. We have a table of weights and measures, and then we have some maps, which are mostly like 2-3 color maps. And then we get to the end of the Bible. So this is a really unique study Bible if you're looking for something different than the usual study Bible with the study notes verse by verse at the bottom of each page. The literary study Bible just gives you something a little different. So if you're looking for a nice portable little study Bible that goes over the literary features in the Bible, in the ESV translation, you will want to look up the Literary Study Bible by Crossway.